Welcome to the Quantum Guide Show, where you will find interesting guests and discussions about cutting-edge topics to assist you on your journey. The Quantum Guide Show is ideally suited to the newly awakened and for those who feel isolated by their newfound beliefs. The mind, body, and spirit thrive when we have a mission, and there is no greater mission than to become the change that we wish to see in the world. So hit the like button, subscribe to my YouTube, Odyssey, and Telegram channels, and share this show with your friends. Welcome back to the Quantum Guide Show. Today in episode 115, my returning guest is Kathy Bates. Kathy is best known as the author of Getting Well God's Way. And in Quantum Guide Show episode 108, we talked about how Kathy came to write this book and about the warning that she's sharing with the world about 5G and the effects of this on humanity. Today, we do a deep dive into 5G, and the links will be below. And I want to thank everybody for subscribing, liking, and sharing this show with your friends. Kathy, how are you today? Welcome back to the Quantum Guide Show.
Hi, Karen. I'm glad to be here. Glad to be here.
Yeah.
So, well, we had talked last time about the book that God had me write, and you had asked me in the beginning how I came to write a book. And so I answered that question, and we never really got around to the 5G. So we're going to focus on that this time. And that's actually, you know, I tell people this is a really great book that I wrote, except that now we are in much more troubled waters. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot more things that I think this, well, let me qualify. That Getting Well God's Way book has helped a lot of people reconnect with God or deepen their sense of being with Him. And in that regard, wonderful. But It is a book about health, and we are doing something right now, or it's being done to us, I should say, but with our cooperation, and it's time to respond. And so I have built a couple of websites. This was the most recent creation. This is the public health warning. This is a little document because I go into the fact, you know what? I'm going to read you a poem that came out right after. It's a pretty short one. Let me get it here. It came out right after our last show. And I'm not a poet. I don't think of myself as a poet. And yet this poem just insisted on being written. And it started around the end of February. And I tried to sit down and get it out of the way. And you don't write poetry that way. And so I started, gave up, set it aside. And then it just kept knocking on my soul's door. And so I started writing down a line or two and on an envelope upstairs. And I'd throw it aside. And a couple of days later, a few more lines would come. So I have no problem any farther saying that I'm a warrior, I'm a healer, I'm a messenger. And after this first book, the Getting Well God's Way book came out, a man in Maryland found me, and he bought 50 of them. And then you can see they're not small books. And he passed them out all over town. And we talked, and he cried. And he said, "You're a messenger sent by God, and if we don't listen to you, we deserve what happens to us next." Well, that's been seven years ago. So we're kind of, anyway, I think we're late to the show, but God always shows up in the nick of time and goes, and then looks at me like, "What, did you think I wasn't coming?" Arr. Okay, so here's this poem. It has an image at the top that is a picture of writing in a journal and it's highlighted, and it says Isaiah 54 shall apply. I still have this journal. Here's the poem. May the 27th, 1990 AD, I wrote down a message God spoke to me. Isaiah 54 shall apply is what it read. I noted it in a first adult journal, and then I went to bed. 28 years went by before someone brought this back to mind. When I went back to read it, I was amazed by what I'd find. It was like reading a story of where all I had been. It even showed my divorce, which I didn't see back then. I sought to live a purposed life, seeking God's presence every day, so he could tell us a story and help us find his way. It's been a challenging but fruitful journey, an alternative path I took. God then insisted I write an extensive book. It had been out about a year when the story took a radical turn. There were urgent things he needed to show me. We have a lot to learn. As it turns out, as we arrive at 2023, I found myself thinking about May 27th, 1990 AD, how I'm exactly where that chapter in Isaiah said that I would be. I enjoy looking for God in the story happening, as it assures this isn't just me. First thing I notice in 2023 is that message is turning 33. Realizing this year, 66 years I've been living, but realized too, I wasn't actually 33 when it was given. But wait a minute, my mind ran ahead. How many days between those two? I said. I could hardly believe the answer when it was shown to me. 3 weeks and 3 days later, I turned 33. One step further as I look around, another set of threes is what I found. February 2023 helps me to know we arrived here 3 years and 3 months ago. I can't believe my eyes as I look across the nations and see the boundless destruction caused by corporations. Think of the seeding birds, the flora, and the bee. Living without them is a life we don't want to see. So when I say I've been sent to help you see the error in humanity's direction, I hope you too can see the thumbprint of God and know the information comes with deep affection. Before I go, I have just one question. What will it take before we, the people, respond? Does this need to be an even bigger lesson?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, I got goosebumps just listening to that, Kathy.
yeah, well, I think sometimes we know when God's coming through and when it's us and our own efforts. And, as that thing just kind of insisted on being written. And when I realized as I was writing it that, 3 years and 3 months, that's why it was saying, do it now, do it now. It wanted that acknowledged. And so anyway, there's a website that I really want people to start seeing, and it's No More Towers in the Ozarks.org. It is also known as the truthabouttechnology.org. And this little document, this little thing I printed out, I actually created this for our governor. We have a new governor. It's Sarah Huckabee Sanders. So she's the daughter of Mike Huckabee, who ran for president some years back. And so, I guess he was running when Trump was running. I'm going to read you a couple of the bullet points that are on here. I put this, so what I did, this is a pretty extensive website and growing. But so I wrote a letter. I wrote this. This is a little 72-page digest showing all of the massive deployment of sources of electromagnetic radiation. I go into very quickly how I got pulled into this lesson, and it was simple. I got a new cell phone in September of 2016. I had gone from an iPhone 4 to an iPhone 5C, and when I held the phone, my hands ached, and I thought, well, that's weird. And so I bought a case. I don't even know how I got to that decision, but I bought a case for the phone, and I still didn't realize that I had bought a radiation blocking case. And Karen, that right there says, I should have been asking what kind of radiation, how much radiation, where is it coming from on this phone? I mean, there's questions we should ask. And I was just as much under the cultural coma as anyone else. In fact, as a longtime health practitioner, I was a licensed massage therapist in Texas for almost 30 years. And I had files with health stuff. And as we were getting ready to move from Austin, Texas to the Ozarks here in Arkansas, I came across one of those files and I had 4 articles in there from 2000 and 2001 warning about Wi-Fi and this stuff. It just didn't sink in. The draw is real. It's extremely convenient. I don't want to get rid of it. I do wonder, could we live in a 2G world? Can the world sustain that? But what we're doing is crazy. It's just crazy. So on page 5 of this little booklet, this is the featured post on the noatt.blog site. It is an open source document. Anyone can print it and distribute it as long as it's not done for profit. I want the information out there is the goal. I also put on that blog where I get these printed and how much they cost me and what I fill out to get these little things. And I'm mailing them all over the place. And so are some of the supporters that have been hurt by this and others that understand what's going on. But some of the images in the first it's the first 7 pages, first 9 pages. And then it goes into a list of symptoms. Then it goes into the fact that the World Health Organization has assigned an ICD code, which is an international code for diagnostics for insurance billing. They do not call this condition they don't call it electromagnetic hypersensitivity or EHS, but they do refer to it as an idiopathic environmental intolerance attributed to electromagnetic fields. So what this really is, it's not that I have a problem, the environment has a problem and I'm the messenger. It seems that all of species have a 10 to 15% weaker set of that species, and they are the warning messengers. If you see that set of bees dying off, then you need to say what's causing it and look in the environment. It's not like, one of the things I get upset with people, there is a whole lot of people selling EMF gadgets, EMF protection gadgets. And I had a friend recently, and when she comes onto my Facebook page and would, say, hey, I sell EMF stuff. And I'm like, not on my page. Until we can outfit the bees, this is a very short-sighted approach. It's a very selfish, like, oh, well, I got my protection. I'm like, this is not okay. But all right, so I want to read you because there's a lot of pictures in here showing all the different sources of radiation. One of them, our networking is almost covering this entire nation. And in 2002, I have a comparative shot here where you can see in 2002 and 3, there was hardly anything covering the US. And this picture down here, you can see we're just covered in it. So we are heading into they have issued a ridiculous amount of permits for satellites. This is an image here that's on page 9 that's showing us the gamma radiation levels in the US. They're historic. 300 counts per minute used to be an evacuation event. Let's see, we are now in Little Rock, Arkansas, which is 3 hours from me. We are the 4th highest gamma radiation readings in the country. And I do go into this booklet with a lot of solutions. I don't like to bring out just problems, so I do bring solutions forward. I talk about how many people are being affected. We are the warning messengers. Let me see here. I want to read you a paragraph about what they've done to the Amazon wilderness. Let me find it here. I thought it was right there, and I may have moved it. So let me see. Yeah, I think it's right here. Elon Musk is hoping to send 42,000 satellites to space, 15 times the number of operational satellites in orbit today. According to a site that is linked here, Big Tech has received approval for 100,000 satellites. This is crazy. I mean, we have lunatics that have taken over our world. I'm not going to see that.
I would agree with you 100% there.
Well, they're criminals is what they are. And they're just not thinking about, well, I wonder what I did with that. I'm looking for this paragraph about what they did to the Amazon wilderness. And it's just pretty crazy. Oh, here it is. This is written by a woman named Shannon Rowan, and she wrote a book called Wi-Fi Refugee, Plight of the Modern Day Canary. It's a very good book. This is from page 225. It was not uncommon to be met with the sometimes scathing suggestion to go live in the Amazonian wilderness, as that seemed the only place left for us. She also has an electromagnetic hypersensitivity, and I didn't finish the story, but that new cell phone, that new iPhone that I got, one day that pain turned into a heightened sensitivity. And when I touched the screen of my mother's iPhone 6S to say, no, Mom, right here, and touched it, a pain shot up my arm that felt like a blood pressure cuff was on too tight, and it stayed that way for 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that my electrical system had been radically altered. It set my left breast on fire. A few days later, which I put out by bathing my underarm and my breast in liquid iodine. I was also taking baking soda and maple syrup, because baking soda is a natural electron donor. And what this condition is, what it is when we're around all of this wireless, and I love Curtis Bennett with thermoguy.com. Professor Bennett says on the phone to me, he said, Kathy, you're not sensitive. You're being electrocuted. We all are. He said, there's a reason we put current in wires. And Karen, it was like somebody just slapped me when he said that. I went, oh my gosh, well, of course. And so then you start looking at the world whole different way now, because you see all of this wireless. And so we are all electrical and magnetic beings. So this woman is writing about not only her story, but the story of a group of people that she's with that, you know, they're running from smart meters. And we didn't consent to any of this, by the way, not any of this.
No.
So here she is on the run, and she's telling it that somebody said, why don't you just go to the Amazon? And she said, sadly, this assumption proved to be false. The Amazon is actually now one of the most EMF contaminated places on Earth, in the form of 25 enormously powerful surveillance radars, 10 Doppler weather radars, 200 floating water monitoring stations, 900 radio-equipped listening posts, 32 radio stations, 8 airborne state-of-the-art surveillance jets equipped with fog-penetrating radar, and 99 attack trainer support aircraft, all of which can track individual human beings and hear a twig snap anywhere in the Amazon. Why? Why is that necessary? Do we need to hear a twig snap in the Amazon? So I've had people here in the Ozarks, because people go off trail here and get lost, and somebody arguing with me on Facebook going, well, if we get rid of all the wireless, how are we going to track them? And I'm like, it's pretty simple. You make it to where they're not allowed to go out there unless they're with somebody that's a certified guide. The guide has to go through some sort of training to make them certified, and they don't go out there. And the law and the rule would be, if you go out there without us and you get lost, we may or may not have the ability to come get you. Don't do that. You know?
And they could carry flares.
They could carry flares.
Would be seen for miles and miles if someone was in
that's
trouble,
true, Karen. Yeah. So, well, so I've the second part of this book. So I talk about, you know, a lot in here. I talk about Wi-Fi. I talk about cell phones. I talk about cell towers. Everything in this little booklet is linked to the hilt. It can take somebody that laughs at us, that has watched Better Call Saul and thinks that they are informed, and take them from that state of mind to, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? I have sent this little thing to every state medical board member. There was 14 of them, including their lawyer. it ends in the back kind of shockingly with how to file criminal assault instructions. So this is illegal. It's immoral. It is not what we voted in. It's what our profiteer handlers have sold us out to. It also ends with, it goes into 5G. It does go into these smart meters. It covers issues that I ran into with satellite television, and then it goes into our unalienable rights, which this list here was on my desk for a couple of years. I had it printed and cut it out and set it there because I wanted to know, where did those go?
Mm-hmm.
Where did they go? And I started looking at all the things, because I live with my mother, and she bought 28 acres here in the Ozarks. I'm at the bottom of a V, so the land goes up very high on each side of us, probably 125, 150 feet. Trees all around us. I have everything hardwired, grounded, shielded, filtered. I know what meters I'm using, what I'm measuring, and what for, and how to mitigate it. I am healing my body. I found out that I had very high copper, and that can cause you to be more antenna-like, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And so I found out that I needed to have my zinc and copper ratio 1-to-1. So I started taking 100 milligrams of zinc. Now, first of all, I got rid of all sources. They say that in order to get over this condition, the very first thing you have to do is prudent avoidance. And so I stay away from everything. When I moved here, for a while, I was able to go to the next town. My body finally reached a point it said no, and I said okay, because I'm a get well person. I do this over and over and over, and that's what this Getting Well book is about, is how I couldn't get well from the churches and traditional medicine's teachings. And so I started chasing God down. In my view, we have a creator. He knows everything about us. He knows what I'm facing. And it's turned out to be a very beneficial relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like he says, come here, I need to show you something. This is going to leave a mark, but I'll walk you out of it. So I say that he never comes when I want him to, but he always shows up. So I assume that in the interim, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And so I started looking at these unalienable rights, because I can now no longer, they put 2 new towers and then took one down. They put up 2 new towers south of town. I used to ride to our county dump once a week with my mom, and we'd take our trash in, and because I don't want the bears and critters to get it up the street, so we just drive it in. And it was a nice little zigzaggy road, mountain drive. And that when I saw those 2 towers, I no longer go there. I no longer go to the next town. I stay home a lot. The local grocery store is the readings coming out are so high that it'll interrupt your radio if you pull up in there. So the form of electric meter that they are using here is touted as being one of the worst. It's called a power line communication or power line carrier, also known as a 2-way automated communication system. They brag that it's not wireless, as if that's all the issues, and it's not. These meters in use here were rejected by the Austrian Chamber of Physicians, which is similar to our AMA. It was rejected by the Swiss Physicians for the Environment. I am living in a very dense ecosystem of the Ozarks. And the air here is screaming 24/7. I was able to chase down a 70-year-old chief inspector for the Board of Electrical Examiners and Licensing. What I found on my journey is that the utility company laughed off my University of Texas medical doctor's letter of medical necessity, responded in a very unprofessional manner, asking me if my doctor was an electrician. And all of this is documented. So I'm just waiting. And someone in town recently heard my story, and I spent 3 hours with an attorney last week. So I believe a friend of mine, when we were leaving Austin, she stood in my driveway and she said, Kathy, I don't know how this turns out, but she said, I do know. She said, I've got this sense that you're going to go up there and you're going to do something, and it's going to set a legal precedence, and it's going to take off throughout the nation. So I'm taking my battle here very seriously. I laughed at the attorney for the utility company, and I told her in every email, I ended it with, do unto others as you would have done unto you. And I told her in one letter, I said, there's going to come a day you look in the mirror and say, I should have given that woman an analog meter, because I'm waking up an entire town. And this is a little mountain town, and you don't mess with these people. They're real nice and very neighborly, but if they feel like you have done what they're finding out has been done, I believe they're going to respond. And I believe that's the reason 33 years ago, God had me write in a journal. And what that message meant to me, among other things, was I'm going to move you to a place with a gemstone foundation. And so I'm in the state of Arkansas, which is the diamond state. You can dig up diamonds and quartz crystals and all in a couple of places around this state. So, and we had family history here. So anyway, I recognized that there were 11 of my 20 unalienable rights that were being walked all over. I can't travel. I can't work. It's just there's one right after another after another. This should be very concerning to us, because as this affects more and more and more of the population, we may be in more of a lockdown. This document also goes into, is COVID-19 from electromagnetic radiation exposure? There is a link on the No ATT blog that is an NIH.gov link showing that even they say there's a connection. So we are headed off into things that are not for our best interest. I get them to look at that. I look at what we can do to make a huge change, and I boiled it down to 5 things. Number 1, we need to do wireless etiquette among the humans for personal devices used in public. People do not understand these cell phones emit a pulsed microwave radiation. I can feel it if I'm 6 or 8 feet from you. It is reported to emit up to 20 feet. I've never checked that because I just stay away from them. Hardwiring internet connections in public and private space. Here in the Ozarks, they are spraying out Wi-Fi at the courthouse and at the library. Again, I'm in a dense ecosystem, and we are spraying out pulsed microwave radiation at 245 billion cycles per second into a place where there are critters too small for our eyes to see. They're part of our electrical ecosystem, and we are if I can hear this high-pitched squeal, I'm real sure they can. This chief inspector that I found, when I told him, I said, there's a high-pitched squeal up here, and it's 24/7. And he said, if you're hearing that, that means there's a problem up there. He tried twice to get an electrical engineer for this utility company to come check on it. They didn't come. The second time I called him and said, well, they've never come. He was retiring a month later, so he gave up the guy's name, and it's in this book because I want to know why he didn't come and check on us. I feel like I'm doing the job of the Arkansas Public Service Commission. I'm doing the job of the Board of Electrical Examiners and Licensing. I'm doing the job of a lot of medical doctors. I'm doing the job of a lot of media, but they're all getting the paychecks. So we're not going to get information from our normal sources. Okay, so hardwiring internet connections. One of the things I've suggested that they do is bring in a little tiny house cabin at the library and put in a bunch of hardwired connections and put a wall of information about why we are hardwiring here in the Arkansas Ozarks. Returning to mechanical utility meters and stopping the insane rollout of new towers and putting all existing towers under review. Number 5, request, hound, and demand a landline since we already paid for the copper lines and they're trying to abandon them and have rerouted our tax money illegally to their wireless agenda to our collective detriment. So there's 5 things: wireless etiquette, hardwiring your internet connections, returning to mechanical only utility meters, stopping the rollout of new towers and putting the existing ones under review, and go back to landlines. If we would do this, it would make a huge improvement in where we are. I end this little document with my concerns that every bit of our complicity and cooperation with this agenda is leading us straight into an AI agenda.
Yep.
So, and if you haven't gone down that rabbit hole, Karen, it's pretty scary. So we are, I guess, I'm the warning messenger along the road that says the bridge is out. And people for a long time were laughing at me and shooting me the finger and turning the radio up and toasting me with their beer, but now the laughter has kind of started and people stopped and people are starting to get concerned and they're starting to take this serious. So that's a good thing. It's a good thing. Awareness and this show that you're doing and many like you are making possible is what's bringing all that about. I'm grateful.
Check out my website and find many valuable resources. There's the 9 Steps to Quantum Health Transformation. This is a free, comprehensive online course. Learn about detoxification and nutrition, grounding and spiritual practices, and an advanced version of the Law of Attraction, giving you more of what you really want out of life. I also have my Zendomes Orgonite, which is my unique brand of orgone generators. They're ethically sourced and handmade by a friend of mine, and they're double charged for maximum effect. I also carry Comfort Crystals, which is a limited collection of energetically infused semi-precious stones. I have an array of vital services so you can get the one-on-one support that you've been looking for. Also coaching, guidance, and I do assessments and also workshops. And then again, there are the many free resources available on my website. Wisdom to assist with energetic ascension into physical, mental, and spiritual paradise. Let us share our quantum work with you. It's your turn to heal, evolve, and thrive. Believe in your ability to succeed. Now, let's get back to the show.
So I'm going to read you a couple of things off of this No More Towers printout that I did that's going to the governor. And I did this because this is kind of grown up, black and white grown up, and I want to break up her visuals. So I spent all this color ink, which my supporters buy for me, and made these up. And I think it will draw her in a little more. It first shows that Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s law firm sued the FCC, and the FCC lost. This was August the 13th of 2021. Sadly, it is sitting there, and the FCC is kind of like, make me. And so that's where we seem to be stuck. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and the Environmental Health Trust joined. They sued also, and the judge combined their suits. This website on the left-hand column shows where you can go looking at the key documents for this lawsuit, including the 11,000 pages of evidence of harm that they submitted. And the federal appeals court judge actually rebuked the FCC for ignoring studies showing harm, and they were ordered to immediately pay for those 11,000 pages of evidence. In the middle column, I go into what's the harm to the environment, wildlife, and more. I show, and every headline that I'm going to read you is followed with a link. So everything I tell you, link, 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 link. I love to show people this is not just an opinion. I'm gathering information from the field and bringing it in. So the first link is a link that you'll see a video of aphids flipping their bodies in unison. They finally determined that they were responding to an airport radar installation 14 miles away. We are playing with things we don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
Billions, second one, billions with a B of North American birds have vanished, affecting seedings. The next, let's see here. I point out a scripture that says, "Behold, I send you in as sheep among wolves. Be wise." I say, think, read, research. Don't blindly trust government oversight agencies. There is images that on this website that is pretty shocking, and that's what I made it for. There's a lot of screenshots about people being injured that I've met on Facebook. These are not just people that I found in some magazine. These are my fellow friends, is what I'm finding. So there is images that teach. Then there's a list of symptoms, which is a symptom chart. That's the very first image I put up there. I give a link to a Public Law 90-602 that basically says you cannot radiate the public. And they apparently don't care about that. So let's see. Next link, EMFs, that's electromagnetic fields, threaten 1 million species with extinction. I mean, this is not a little thing here. Okay, migratory birds are affected by electrosmog. Migratory birds being affected by magnetic fields. Bees, birds, and mankind destroying nature by electrosmog. Effects of non-ionizing electromagnetic fields on flora and fauna. Rising ambient EMF levels in the environment, a 3-part series. Wild bee population collapses by 90% in New England. Bees, bugs, and butterflies. That's a wildlife research. Massive insect decline since 5G activated on a Greek island, and there's a chart included. Next is wireless technology and environmental health risks. Next, they're coming for the national parks too. Mm-hmm. This is an Environmental Health Trust letter from Dr. Deborah Davis to the superintendent of the Grand Teton National Park about the dangers of this issue. There's a 28-minute video on the hazards of cell phones specific to the concerns of this site, their effect on honeybees. There's published research on the adverse effect of wireless technology and electromagnetic radiation on bees from Trust. Then there's a book I talk about called Hidden Dangers, How Governments, Telecom, and Electric Power Utilities Suppress the Truth About the Known Hazards of Electromagnetic Field Radiation by a Retired Electronic Warfare Specialist. In this book, I share just a couple of points. He's broken this book up into, he writes a book like I do, accusation link, headline link. I mean, it's just, and it's cut up into sections of Wi-Fi, smart meters, cell towers, cell phones, etc. He says in here, among the towers, in 2007 in Spain, one tower is attributed to 30 cases of cancer. In 2009, Spain, one tower, 43 cases of cancer. 2011, Brazil, over 7,000 cancer deaths in 10 years, and 80% of them lived within 1/3 mile of a tower. 2011, Italy's Supreme Court orders Vatican Radio to pay 41 people within 6 miles of a radio transmitter who died of leukemia. I make the point here to tell our governor that when they recently, January, installed 4 new repeater transmitters here in Arkansas because of COVID, and they sent all the kids home from school, they put 4 new repeaters so that 95% of the state can watch Big Bird instead of just 76%. The minute they did that, I woke up in severe vertigo. And so I'm letting her know about that here. I didn't know what the cause of it was. I'll tell you what the immediate remedy was, though. I don't know if it'll work for everybody, but it sure worked for me. I had a piece of aluminum foil that I had scrunched up and then pulled it out. For my mind, the little the little valleys and ridges would give the current something to hit and fall off of instead of hitting my brain. Well, Karen, I was desperate. The whole room was spinning. I was holding on to the walls going, my God, what am I going to do? And I thought about that foil that I had worn in Austin when I was just surrounded by towers. And I thought, I'm going to try it. I got it out of the drawer, stuck it on my head. Everything stopped. Instantly, everything stopped. And I went, okay. So now I have that on my head almost all the time. I was feeling a little goofy until I heard a Dr. Peter Combs on an interview about 5G. He took his cowboy hat off the shelf and turned it up and pointed to the inside and said, when this show ends, I'll be putting some Mylar in the top of my cap. And he said, remember, Mylar is your friend. So whoever called us tinfoil hat people, I'm like, thank you for the hint. I helped. So, all right, let's see. There's I've already covered that. All right. In 2004, the International Association of Firefighters took an official position and said no towers or antennas for conduction of cell phone transmission until a study with the highest scientific merit and integrity on health effects of exposure is conducted and proven that such sightings are not hazardous. I don't know if they've stayed with that, but that was a pretty strong declaration. I've got it in my files. In 2000, Germany said cell towers need to reduce radiation by 10,000 times. In 2018, Italy did what's called a Ramsini study. Largest animal study confirms cell towers cause cancer. Substantial evidence confirms RF radiation exposure from cell phones, cell towers, Wi-Fi, etc., causes cancer. Report says wireless radiation may harm wildlife. That's Santa Fe, New Mexican .com news. Then I go into here, we have what's called chronic wasting disease in our white-tailed deer. Are you familiar? Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Well, I started looking into it. The hunting guide, somebody left one on my dining table, and I started looking through it for 2122. Page 4 discusses the chronic wasting disease. And so I went on a couple of chat sites on Facebook and tried to get some conversation going. I usually have an ulterior motive. I know I'm going to get laughed at and disrespected, but I often get what I need, and it paid off this time. So I went on Newton County Chit Chat, and they later knocked me off, deleted the conversation that went on, and I'm not allowed in there anymore. And it wasn't because I was doing anything disrespectful. I just said, hey, has anybody here made a connection between these smart meters that have the air screaming 24/7? And the reality is this form of electric meter actually contaminates the power lines. It turns them into radiating antennas. And on that noatt.blog, I just put up a 3-part PDF showing exactly that, along with an FCC laboratory video that's 7 minutes and 36 seconds long. They drove around with an AM receiver and showed you the radiation interfering with that reception. And so I've got friends here that reported coming out of Eureka Springs, riding alongside the power lines, and the hair on the neck, on his arms was standing up, and on the back of her neck. These are all indications of an unhealthy electrical presence, and we need to pay attention to them. Mm-hmm. So the conversation, I said, has anybody made a connection between chronic wasting and these electric meters? And I did. I caught some flack and people laughing at me, and somebody said, no, it came in with an infected elk herd. So apparently they moved an elk herd in here and they were infected. And so I brought up the conversation, and I said, that's not where the conversation needs to stop, because I said, this electric metering system has set up a grid. It's actually a field of electric current. And I said, so now you've got your white-tailed deer and everything else standing in a field of electric current radiating from power lines all around them, and you brought in an infected agent. So when you have the deer in this field, their immune system is compromised. They can't defend themselves. and you bring in an infected agent, you bet there's going to be transmission.
Mm-hmm.
And so what was interesting is that, and I included this with this governor's site, and I didn't cover the guy's name because I figured he commented on a public site. But before they threw me off and deleted the comments, I screenshotted his comment. So one guy stepped up and said, "Hey," and he called the guy out by name and he said, "Aren't you looking into that?" And this guy writes back and says, "Our studies are ongoing, but they are showing a correlation between the two." All right. So I'm here by divine providential appointment. So I do this stuff and I don't know what's happening, or, the electric company knows I'm here. It's gotten to a point that when someone tells somebody they met me and what I'm doing, that person they're talking to says, "I've heard about her." So this is a little town of 500 people. It's very much like a community, very much tree hugger spirit. So I think God knew exactly what he was doing to send me here, and they have received us with beautiful open arms and tell us it feels like y'all are family that just came home. So I think we're in good shape for good things to happen. And so all of this stuff I create, this website that I'm doing this with, that was after I found two towers. My doctor came to town with her husband, drove from Austin 12 hours to come up here and see me and, check off her stuff so she could still consult with me. I don't need her now, but I got off of prescription thyroid medicine I've been on since 1990. So the body does heal. But she came up here and I saw these two towers when we took her for a ride. And I cried for 2 days. And then I got online and I asked all of my supporters I said, "I need money. I got some stuff to do and I need money." And $2,500 came in and I started buying website domains and started creating. So this little beast was created out of passion. It took a lot of the information from the No ATT blog and put it in a different visual format. So the next link is on here is a 1,086 page PDF. It's titled "The Largest Unethical Medical Experiment in Human History." It's a document that is a monograph. It's just a list built from Medline or PubMed's query search and contains 5,361 studies on the harm and also addresses our food chain being affected. I've got a link here where Harvard Ethics produced a 59-page report showing us all the people at the FCC, what their names are, how much money they were paid, and who paid them. So nobody's coming. I went through the fair housing when the staff attorney laughed at my doctor's letter, qualified doctor's letter. I was told to go to the fair housing and file a complaint. They had no jurisdiction. They passed me up to the Department of Justice, I think. They have no jurisdiction on wireless. They sent me to HUD. HUD has no jurisdiction on wireless. They sent me to legal aid. Legal aid has no clue. I got somebody, I've been studying this stuff for, at that time, 4 years, and somebody that looked over it for a week or two superseded me. This is crazy. This is a system that unless you can prove I'm an idiot or prove that you know more than I do, I don't think I should get to default to the weakest link in the room. But that's what's going on. They don't. Anyway, so there's nobody coming to save us. This is going to have to be a we the people effort. And so I'm putting information together to give people tools to help them educate themselves and educate other people, because we truly do have to do this. There is a diplomat who was injured by radio frequency, and he sued the government for disability discrimination. That's another thing. I am by the ADA, American Disability Act, and the amendments of 2008, I absolutely am disabled. Their definition was expanded from the original act to actually include if you are known to be disabled by a condition. Well, everybody that knows me knows what happened. If it affects a major ability of you to live your life. Well, I can't hardly leave this 28 acres in the immediate area. I would say that's pretty daunting. I can't go in any stores here. I can't go in the post office. I can't go in any buildings. They have got these smart meters that have, well, they're killing people. I go into that in the first part of that little booklet. Well, it's in the second part at the staple. And that's how I found out, because a girl here, well, that was my first clue. She died. And I went and checked the outlet that was up on the wall, even with her head. So I talk in this little package about how the 24/7 high-pitched squeal is affecting our wildlife. I give a link to the sensitivity of plants to high-frequency electromagnetic radiation, what the cellular mechanisms and morphological changes are. I'm just basically sharing people, look, this is here. It's coming at us. They're not going to stop. I will say, and I'm not trying to encourage anything here, but I am encouraged by this. France has started taking down their towers. They've started some civil disobedience. They're trying to go cashless there. And so what people are doing is getting in big groups, and they go into a restaurant and they order their food, they eat it, and they have nothing to pay with but cash. And these restaurants are realizing they're not willing to be the bidder of this new world order agenda that is not for the people and not for freedom. And so this is kind of where we are, Karen. We're going to have to start responding to this because nobody is coming. And I personally have gone and walked that trail to prove nobody's coming. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I put this little red marked up document as a PDF on the No ATT blog. So anybody that wants to make use of it, they don't have to do that. They can print it in black and white if they want. But anyway, however we can get the message out there is what we need to be doing, that there is a problem. We do need to be bringing attention to it, and we do need to be taking personal responsibility. On the No ATT blog and the other one, the No More Towers or Truth About Technology, both of them have solutions categories. So I tell people where to buy Faraday bags. I suggest that they go to lessemf.com and by email ask for them to send a paper catalog. It's a free education. It's quite eye-opening. That company has been in business for 25, 26 years, and they sell all of the stuff that we need to shield and block and hardwire, and yet nobody told us. You know, so these people that are running us either have a very horrible agenda or they're very inefficient. And either way, we've got to find a better way to move forward because this is broken. And so anyway, I know we're about up. I'll let you ask some questions if you want.
Yeah, we got about 10 minutes left, but I wanted to say the status. I'm in Canada and what's going on here in Canada. So first of all, it was around, I don't know, maybe 2013 that I got my first cell phone.
Okay.
And nobody tells you not to put it to your head. Nobody tells you that.
Right.
But every time I put it to my head to use it like a regular telephone or a landline, I just got this horrible burning, numbing sensation all on the side of my head and down my neck. And it lasted for hours. And I knew there was something seriously wrong about it. So then I tried to do research to find out what the safety recommendations that come with the phone. And, you know, I couldn't find them. You have to go in file after file, and they're so well hidden. And basically, it says you need to hold it at least an arm's length away at all times. And if you keep it closer to your body, that's your own stupidity and you get what you deserve. Meanwhile, I'm noticing all these pregnant women with their cell phones tucked into their waistband. I'm noticing all these women, and in Canada, there's something else going on because women are just getting these huge pendulous breasts. So they're tucking their cell phones into their breasts. And I'm someone who comes from a low income background, very low income background, actually. And what happens is all the places to rent are very population dense.
Right.
And they all put in smart meters, not just for electrical. They also have smart meters for gas.
Right.
And when they put one in the apartment building where I was living, because, a lot of us low income, we can't afford homes, we got to live all crammed together and roommates and all that. It's the only way you can survive.
Right.
And I phoned the power company and I told them, no, I don't want a smart meter. There was all these petitions and stuff. And I said, I don't want one. And they said, well, ma'am, you are within your right to find an alternative energy source. But if you want it from us, you have to have these meters. Well, then time went by and all this is still going on. And now I'm seeing children with their cell phones to their face, right? And my daughter lives in Victoria, which is on the west coast of Canada. I go see them once a year, and I'm noticing they're putting all these 5G panels on the roofs of all these apartments and condos. Well, people that are renting the penthouse suites, there's only a matter of maybe a foot between their and they're getting completely irradiated, and I can't believe it. They're being double ripped off, because they're not only being slowly, in my opinion, killed, but they're also paying the highest rents, and on Western Canada, some of the highest rents in the world. So there's all that going on. Then bring us up to just this past couple of weeks. Now, Shaw and Rogers, which are the two biggest internet providers and communication providers in Canada, are now joined forces, and they have this ad that's absolutely perverse. It says, well, now that the two of us are coming together, we're going to be able to offer you so many more services. And the ad closes out with this 5G tower and these red lights. Now, very demonic looking. And it says, yeah, we have your future. And I'm going, holy shit. I mean, how blatant, pardon my language, but how blatant could you be? So basically, there are a few people who are doing something about it, but mostly people are just going, I don't want to hear it. The same as they go, I don't want to hear it. They want to go to McDonald's and have their supper, and they don't want to hear it. And they got their cell phones on their body, and they don't want to hear it. And it just goes on, and and they're having these medical procedures that are unproven, and I won't say much more about it because I don't want my video to get deleted. Right? It's just like we're at the point now where we have to stand up and face the discomfort of recognizing what's going on and take our steps to remedy the best we can. Just simple self-defense.
Right.
Because it doesn't matter whether there's an intention to remove people off the planet or whether it's just sheer greed and profit driven with no conscious thought to the effect it's having on people. But it's going to be the death of everybody, including the greedy bastards that are doing all this. Because when the bees are gone and the animals are gone and the food supply is gone, they may think they're going to go into their little underground bunkers. Wow, sucks to be them, to be stuck with each other. Number one.
Number one.
Right? So that's the status of what's going on in Canada, Kathy. So I'm so pleased to have you on the show and have you open people's eyes. Now, I understand that the black and white document you showed us, that the links are going to be in the description below so people can just download it as a PDF and have their own copy to share? Is that what you're encouraging?
That's one option. They can also go to this mixem.com and order. I've got a box of 100 of them. When people send me donations, I try to use them to move the agenda forward. And so I've got a box of 100 of them here, and I give them out and I mail them out. And so it's, the laughter's kind of slowing down. In fact, a couple of really good things happened recently. Somebody told a guy that works for the utility company here, told a friend of mine that he no longer thinks I'm crazy. And and my reply was, well, that should have been a scary moment for him. Because, it's one thing to laugh at me until it all starts linking in, and then you go, oh, shit. Oh, she's right. And so, but I also heard the other day that an ex-game warden who's now a realtor, and one of the things I'm pushing for, I sent this document and a letter to that little booklet to the Board of Electrical Examiners and Licensing Chief Inspector. And I said, I encourage you strongly to add an EMF certification to every electrician's license as a requirement. They need to know how to use these meters that I'm using, and they need to know how to check the efficiency of their work. If we had had that, and if home inspectors would have had this EMF certification, this rollout of smart meters would have never passed that inspection point.
Yeah.
It would have never. And so we need to be doing more. The good news is this ex-game warden told a friend of mine, and I'm just so grateful to God because he sent me here, and this is hard, and I didn't want to, and I've begged, and we've argued, and I've threatened to quit every day, and wondered what I did in the karma bench that I'm like, I must have been an axe murderer in a previous life because I'm really having to make up for some stuff in service this time. But it was it's so great to watch. It's like he moves people around. So I have a very dear friend and advocate here that goes all over this town, and she loves me and loves what I'm doing. And so she ran into this ex-game warden, and this ex-game warden said something about the deer population. And she said, yeah, the wasting disease. And he said, no, it's so much more than that.
Yeah.
And he's concerned about the decline and he said this next town, and he named 2 more towns in Arkansas, and he said, it's bad. And she said, we walked away, but she said, I realized he's ready to meet you. And she said, because she goes, you know what's in those 2 towns? And I said, what? And she said, more towers. So when he sees this, and I have another game warden who is, he's paying attention to what I'm doing and has encouraged a couple of steps for me. And I'm going to put those 2 together. They have arrest warrant, with or without a warrant. They have the power and authority to arrest. So I am pointing out that this utility company, they are a private corporation. They call themselves a member-owned cooperative because it sounds warm and fuzzy and neighborly. But their actions, they're locking their members out of public meetings and forcing this meter on them. I'm like, no, if you're member-owned, members get to vote. So I'm making it hard for them. I'm setting a precedence. And now this attorney that was here for 3 hours on Saturday, he's grinning. He's like, I'm ready to have a little talk with that lawyer. So it's about to gear up here. But God is at work. That's what I know for sure. Yeah. He's at work. And so we're not alone in this battle. And I want people to know that, because if they think that we've lost, they're not going to fight. And I need everybody that can to get involved. Oh, no. No, y'all, let me let him out. No, you cannot do that right now. Just close the door. Go. I should have closed that door.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Kathy, before we go though, for those that are listening to this podcast in audio, tell people where they can reach you and your material and where they can send donations.
Okay, well, the noatt.blog has a donation place on it on the homepage on the right-hand side. It's got a donate button up at the top in the menu. So they can check that out. And then I thought I would do something here. Hold on a minute. So, well, I guess you're going to put up the links.
Oh, yeah, the links will be in below, but sometimes, I don't know, for a variety of reasons, it's nice for them to hear it.
noatt.blog. So there's a donate. There is the book has its own blog. It's gettingwellgodsway.com. And it is I am the nemesis to mainstream modern Christianity. Yes. So I'm kind of here to shake their tree and show them the error of their ways and where we need to be headed and what that looks like, because how often do you hear of a miraculous healing in their services? And to me, that says God ain't going there anymore. He's maybe sitting in the bench watching, but he's not showing up and engaging. And just because you feel warm and fuzzy and lifted up, I can do that at home. So if we're going to call ourselves a church, or if people are going to get together under that heading, they need to kind of start acting like it. But they've brought in Coke machines, junk food, and only acknowledge a pharmaceutical approach to wellness. So I believe
I found the same.
Yeah.
And I love the saying that you can't, that a healthy tree cannot produce rotten fruit.
Right.
And a rotten tree can't produce good fruit.
Healthy
and I look
fruit.
at the fruit, and what's the fruit like? You know?
Not good. It's not good.
Not good.
So it's funny because this Getting Well book, it's kind of, it was a 21-year writing effort. And it was because I was having to live through and prove out the theories that I had.
Yeah.
And so God set up a curriculum, and it was tough, but it ended up that I was able to completely reverse Hashimoto's autoimmune, which is supposed to be incurable. I reversed advanced cervical degenerative disc disease. I no longer have fibro flares, and I know that if I start feeling like I'm going to have one, get my butt on the yoga mat. It stops it every time. I have a couple of posts on the Getting Well God's Way blog about do Christians have chakras? Should Christians use crystals? Should Christians do yoga? And I have yet to do one about meditation, but I will. And so this book is very different. It goes into frequency and energy and healing and personal responsibility and a higher level of spirituality and lived out consciousness. So I think it's a bridge for old understanding to come into new insights. And that's where the subtitle, New Insights for a New Era, comes in. So
wonderful.
Anyway, I hope it will help people find some answers. And we've got to get the thing is, this church group is such a huge demographic in the US that if we don't wake them up, we're not going to win this battle. So I have waited to launch my podcast, not really knowing why, but I just figured out in the last couple of weeks that God has me on another mission. And so when it's kind of requiring some study and some dedicated time, but all of this unalienable rights and my mention in the Getting Well book at the end about turning over a new government, and how, and I believe he has shown me a way to do that. And there is a thing trending in the United States now and probably beyond, but this is where I'm paying attention to it. And it's referred to as becoming a sovereign national. So they're saying that right now we're our flag, all of the stars are on a blue background, which means we are actually under admiralty law.
Right. We want to come back to common law.
Yes,
absolutely.
Yes, I'm glad you know about that. So.
Oh yeah.
Are you doing it?
I don't know. I am. I classify myself as a natural citizen of the planet. So when I was a judge on the Natural and Common Law Tribunal for Public Health and Justice, I sat as judge, and we actually included in our charges and everything, all the 5G, everything was in there. We sent out, documents to all around the world, and we just an enormous amount of work. Unfortunately, because it was basically a common law natural court, we couldn't find enforcers. That was what held us back. Yeah. But I'm a natural citizen, which means I was born on this planet. I'm a free person. I'm sovereign. I don't have to answer to anybody. I have to answer to myself. So I have to be sovereign and responsible for me, which means I have to take responsibility for what I think, what I say, what I do, my health, everything. And I stand without having to recognize a national border. And what I like about being a natural citizen is I don't need to be told this law, this rule, that rule. I automatically am following them because I want to do what's adaptive to humanity, right?
Right.
So that's where I stand on it. But common law is the law, but it's been usurped, and admiralty law has been put in, and people don't even know about it. And as soon
Right.
as we grab our common law rights,
Right.
nobody can do anything
Right.
against us ever. I
Well,
mean,
it's coming out.
they can kill the body, but they can't kill your soul, I suppose, right?
It is coming out like gangbusters. I do
Yeah.
believe it's a trend. And, you know, there was a funny thing when God and I argued for a couple of months about me moving up here and starting another fight. And I'm like, dang, do I ever get to not fight?
Yeah.
But I'm equipped for it. That's all I got to say is that
Good.
it's like I would not want meat assigned to me. Because when God says go get them, I take it real serious.
Oh,
But
yeah.
it's trending here, and I am seeing some significant people that are signing their papers. And so I'm headed down that road. I've ordered some books, and I believe, as they said on the episode we watched last night, the health freedom movement was born for this.
Yes.
So this is, I'm pretty excited about it, because I just took a couple of weeks and said, God, I don't feel you telling me to start this podcast. It seems like it's needed, but now I understand. He's like, nope, we got something. When I do start the podcast, it's probably going to be leading people into how to do that process. Because if we don't do this, they're going to come and say, we're going to vaccinate you. We're cattle. We are cattle that is securing a loan. And if the owner of the ranch wants us vaccinated, we're going to get vaccinated. So we need to find some ways to not have to be under this usurped laws, like you said.
Yeah.
So
medical tyranny and
I'm excited
tyranny.
I'm glad you know about it, though. That's encouraging. But well, anyway, one of the things that God said to me, I think I'm like, oh, this is what he was talking about. He said, Kathy, nothing can stop an organic move of the people. Nothing.
It's true. It's
true. It is true. And I think
what we are,
not even law.
We are an unstoppable force moving upon an immovable object. So the construct and all of that is the unmovable object. But we're like nonstop wind erosion, water erosion, be like water. Kathy, I am so happy to have had you on the show, but I really got to go now. But I want to thank you so much. I want everybody to check out the links below. Go and see what Kathy has for you. Download that PDF, share it with all your friends if you can. Send her a donation, help her out with her work. And I'm just so grateful for all of you. And we'll see you next week on the Quantum Guide Show. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you for joining us on the Quantum Guide Show. Become the change that you wish to see in the world. Subscribe to my YouTube, Odyssey, and Telegram channels. Like this video and share it with your friends. You can also find the Quantum Guide Show and my other podcast called Aliens and Astrology on the Forbidden Knowledge News Network. That's www.forbiddenknowledge.news. And while you're at it, check out my website, www.karenholtonhealthcoach.com, where you will find some amazing products and services and an abundance of free resources to help you with your journey. All of the links are in the description below. And in the meantime, until we see you next week, keep up the good work.
Splendor into endlessness puts all my inner strife to rest. For time gives birth to hurriedness. It all makes sense, well, more or less. And the sages put me to their test. With heart and soul, I do my best to find the answers to my quest. I wonder and I must confess, I don't know where it comes from, but I know it's okay. If this is all in me,